Woodstock, and welcome to the Supervisor's Report of October 27th, 2009. I'm Jeff Moran, your town supervisor. A few things I want to discuss this evening very briefly. First is the budget. We're still in the midst of the budget process. I delivered my tentative budget to the town board on October 5th, and the week later we had the budget hearings with the volunteer chairs and the department heads. In those hearings we made some adjustments, some down, some up, and those adjustments are incorporated into the tentative budget, and that creates the preliminary budget. The preliminary budget is what we'll be working on in public on November 4th, which is the Wednesday after the election. And that'll be at 6 o'clock at the community center. And the tentative budget is a little higher than the preliminary budget is a little higher than the tentative budget, just by a few tenths of a point. So the overall budget increase looks to be about between the 2.6 for highway and the looks like 3.8.5 for the general fund. Looks to be overall about 3.28. And I won't know the figures for sure until that meeting of November 4th, but that's what it looks like it's going to be. It's a little higher because we are down in our mortgage tax receipts and down in our sales tax revenues, and we do count on those to help with the tax levy to keep the budget intact. We've also made a couple of adjustments in departments that we needed to make, and I think that those are good adjustments. So we'll see what happens on the 4th. It looks like that is the budget we'll approve. My next topic for this evening is the Como easement. Long history on the Como easement. If you live in Woodstock and pay attention, you probably know it. So I won't go through the long history, but I will just say that we had a great presentation at the town board meeting last Tuesday on the 20th by our special counsel, Steve Barshoff of Sive Paget. And Steve Barshoff has been very familiar with the easement, having defended the town against the Article 78 for several years. And over the past 2 years that I've been supervisor, there's been a lot of discussion about the easement, some heated. And I was concerned that the easement was too restrictive. And we really couldn't decide on our own with the town board what was restricted and what was not. We really, really needed the council to come in and say, here is the deal with the easement. It turns out that we can indeed cut down disease and damaged trees. We can indeed extend the parking to cover the seasonal recreational use for the soccer field, the dog walkers, the frisbee owners, other uses. We can, if we need to, cut new trails, because some of the trails now go over wetlands or are really too close to the stream and are causing erosion. We can indeed expand the soccer fields, and we can indeed allow the soccer club to work with volunteer effort to put up a shelter, a storm shelter for the kids. Not a huge one, it'll be rustic, it'll be wooden, but there is room in the easement to do that. There is also room for us to expand our municipal facilities in a modest way if we need to. And we do need to talk about facilities, and we'll talk about that next. The 1 acre at the Upper Como and the 2 acre at the Lower Como are flexible. They're not set in stone. They can be a little bigger, a little smaller. The boundaries can shift. So I am now satisfied that the easement is as flexible a document as I believe we need it to be. And I think that Mr. Barshoff's presentation last Tuesday satisfied all of the board members, answered all of the various questions that we had, not only from ourselves, but from our citizens. And people got up to speak and ask their own questions. I believe they're all answered. Some people are very happy about the easement, some people are not, but this is a town, the people voted for it, and I think that what we have is a document that represents a great compromise that lets us do everything we need to do on that acreage while preserving the woods and the meadows and keeping the property intact for future generations. I believe it's win-win for everybody. So I'm very happy that this chapter is nearly closed. When the Woodstock Land Conservancy next Monday, the 2nd, meets, they will decide whether or not they can change the language of their draft amendment, which has to do with the stewardship management plan, to accommodate what Steve Barshoff says is our law, i.e. the 18-month clause wherein the town board had to develop a stewardship management plan within that time, or the Woodstock Land Conservancy would, doesn't really work because it turns out we can't give those powers to the Land Conservancy. As a town, we must retain those for ourselves. However, I feel certain that within the next 18 months, this town board can start and the next town board can pick up and develop a stewardship management plan and a way for putting it into effect that will cover all of our needs, work within the easement language, and do what we need to do to make sure that the Como is enjoyed by all but preserved for future generations. Before I get to my third topic this evening, I just want to say something about our cultural weekend in Woodstock. Now in Woodstock, we really are a great crucible of culture, and every weekend there's something going on. And this weekend was special because on Friday night, there was a benefit at Levon Helm's Ramble headquarters for the arts program at the Woodstock Elementary School. Very well attended, a lot of volunteers, great bands, including the school jazz band and many other players. And that raised, between the benefit concert tickets and the silent auction, something like $13,000 for the arts program at the Woodstock Elementary School. And as a couple of performers said, music, culture, art saved their lives many times over. Sports are very important, art is important, music is important. We have to support it all. And if our taxes, which are very high for schools, don't cover it, then I think that it's great that the community pitches in and says, no, we'll support this, we'll do extra for that, we'll put our volunteer efforts into this. I mean, this is our community supporting our kids, supporting education, particularly supporting the arts and culture and music, which is vital to a community. And on that note, I just want to say that Woodstock Elementary School was in danger of closing and may still be. And I've heard recently that the Xena Elementary School is also endangered. I can't emphasize how important it is to me, and I hope to you, to keep schools in our neighborhoods. You know, we don't want all these schools to close and have one campus in the second largest district in the state. We have to keep our local schools open no matter what it takes. So if we get a whiff of these schools closing, we have to organize, we have to be strong, we have to find a way to make it work. We need our local schools. Education is crucial for a community. If our schools close, that hollows out our town. We are a member of 3 different districts, and 2 of those districts have elementary schools in Woodstock. We must keep them. It is very, very important. So please pay attention to this issue. If you have concerns or questions, call my office, 679-2113 extension 7, or email me, jmoran@woodstockny.org. The town supervisor, the town board, does not control the schools. It's a different municipality, a different budget. But we want to know your concerns. We'll relay them to the Board of Education, to the commissioner if we have to. We really think this is important. We all do. I know you do. So let's just really keep in touch with these issues. Thanks.